Chael, so can you actually let us know how you found out about this fight? There was some idea that you didn't really know that this was being filmed.
Yeah. So I don't know that I can recall. I got a call. It's called 3 months ago, roughly. Hey, would you ever fight at heavyweight? And I said, yeah. And then we moved right on and talked about something else. And then the day I found out, by example, I was never told, hey, you're fighting Rampage or January 20th or any of those things. Somewhere it came out, I want to say it was ESPN. But some rumors were slipping through the internet that there was going to be a Grand Prix and there was going to be a champion crowned at the end of it. And then some rumored matchups. But finally ESPN came out and said, here's the breakdown, Jan 20th. I was on the segment and said, you're fighting Rampage. And boom, that was how I found out. Bellator is the best at keeping secrets. They're the best. But the only way you can keep a secret, you can't tell anybody. Everybody's got a big mouth. So they just kept it, announced it. It was cool. It was cool.
So word was that a Fedor was offered to you at one point?
Fedor was in the talks. Mitrione was in the talks, or Roy Nelson was in the talks. But I don't know that I would ever say somebody was offered. There was, the whole thing was musical chairs. I still don't know how the brackets got drawn. I don't know if that was announced. I don't know if I'm missing out on something or if they just sat and said these are the first matches we're going to do. But it is a straight line bracket. It will advance, to a semifinals into a championship. It's a competitive architecture in place, which is very nice. Something this sport lacks.
Fedor, somebody you'd like to fight?
Well, at this point, I don't really care. Normally, I would tell you yes, but it's a tournament. I'm only looking for one thing, which is advancement. Any personal beefs, I'll deal with those later. But to win a tournament, you just got to make it to the next one. I'd take it anyway. I'd take it through disqualification. I could cheat, whatever it is. But I've been in tournaments my whole life. You just got to advance. That's how you win these things. So, Fedor's on our side. Frank Mir's on our side. But, first thing I got to do is get through Quinton.
Seems like a tournament, something that's right in your wheelhouse, something that you'd be into. Do you like the idea?
I love it. I mean, our sport only has a few knocks. It's come so far, but one of them is having an organized competitive architecture in place. People ask me all the time, how do you get into Bellator? Or how do you get in the UFC? And I could take a guess, but I don't know for sure. If you ask me how do I win a Super Bowl, I could tell you exactly what you need to do. And, so a lot of times boxing does this too, but it's the power of the pen. You've got your champion, and then who's going to be the number one contender. You got all sorts of politics involved. And that's just what it is. If you learn to play the game, great, you're going to have a good career. If you can have a competitive architecture, a straight line bracket, take all the dudes that say, I should be able to fight for the title, and Coker just goes, okay, all of you guys have called me and said you think you should be the guy. I'm going to put you all in here together, but whoever comes out of this thing, I'll put a strap around. Solves every problem there is. You can't complain at that point. True sport. True sport, yeah.
How important is the belt to you?
Well, I've always wanted to be champion. That's been very important, but I've never once thought about being the heavyweight champion. I was never in the heavyweight weight class. Back when I was fantasizing about this sport as a young guy, I was trying to figure out how I was going to beat Hoist Gracie, how I was going to beat Dan Severn, how I was going to beat Tank Abbott. Right? It was just a different deal. There was one weight class. And what are you going to do with Marco Huas? But, these are the guys that I grew up watching. But then they came in with the structure. You had a light heavyweight class, and then the middleweight class came in, and I never looked at heavyweight again. So it was a very exciting call for me. I imagine it was the opposite. Take Matt Mitrione, who was probably our number one contender. I would say clearly the number one contender. He gets a phone call. You win 3 fights, you're the world champion. He's probably going, you got to be kidding me. I thought I was 1 fight away. There you call me, who never even thought about it before, tell me I only got to win 3 fights to be world champion. Cool. That's a pretty good deal right there. So I guess it's just a matter of perspective.
You've been quite complimentary of Mitrione. I think you referred to him as the best heavyweight out there right now.
Yeah. Who got a hard draw right out of the gate? Roy Nelson's a hard draw for Mitrione. They fought before, right? We have that evidence. We know Roy can beat him because he did beat him. But I think Mitrione's the better fighter, but better fighter doesn't always win in those little gloves.
He's also a much bigger man. How do you really approach a guy that fought most of your career at heavyweight and sometimes at light heavyweight? How are you going to go in there with guys that are 6'8"?
Yeah. I don't know the answer to that. That's kind of a bit of the nuance to this for me. I don't really know, which I like. I'm into it. I'm having fun with it. But if you're using Mitrione specifically, I wouldn't see him till the finals, which is 12 months away. So I just deal with one at a time. I've come through a lot of tournaments, but one of the keys to it is to focus on the guy in front of you. It's so easy to start looking ahead and take your eye off somebody. So I'll start with Quinton, but If should I come into Mitrione, I will have a plan for him too.
How much do you weigh right now?
220. I'd like to get to about. I'd like to be about 216 for the fight. Get a few pounds off.
And Quinton is probably somewhere in the 250s, 260s.
He claimed he weighs 260. I didn't think he looked quite that big, but he said I'm weighing 260. You know, we had a nice little morning, and we were traveling around together. You know, it was one of those deals, and that's what he said he weighed. Quinton at 205 is a tough night out. Quinton at 255. That's the way it goes. That's the way it goes.
Have you ever had any experience with fighting someone that much bigger?
Oh, no, not an actual fight. I trained with Tank Abbott when he was getting ready for Dan Severn, Ultimate 2, 1996. He was the biggest guy I've ever gone with. Yeah, and we have some heavyweights in my room. My own coach is 300 pounds, but we usually do jiu-jitsu. So actual fighting, no, nobody that big.
How did that feel going toe-to-toe with Tank?
Oh, it was terrifying. I was 18 years old, 170-some pounds. Tank Abbott could not have been any nicer to us younger guys. Now, adults and people his age, I don't know that he mingled as well. But us younger guys, he treated us wonderfully. Yeah. So I only have good Tank stories. You'll hear all these bad ones, but as a young kid, and he looked out for us. He was cool.
Does that give you some confidence, or?
Oh, these are just old memories. I think I just brought that up for old memory's sake. But does it give me some confidence? I've never gone in there confident. I've never, ever known what's going to happen. I got to fight some tough guys, man. My schedule's been pretty tough through my career. So I train really hard, and I walk out there, and that's it. I don't know beyond that.
How do you bridge that gap with the weight?
Oh, I don't know. Who cares? I don't know. When I started this thing, I can't remember how many fights I had. It had been at least 5 or 6 or 7 before I ever saw a scale. We didn't even have weigh-ins. It was the bare knuckle days. I had my first fight in 1997. I remember I came home from school. I told my parents I'm going to fight, and my dad never missed any of my matches, so he didn't go. He didn't really know what I was saying to him. So my mom and I drove out to this tent. Matt Hume was putting on this show and was the referee, and they just grabbed guys. The point is, I never knew what the weigh-ins were, man. I was trying to be like Hoist Gracie. He weighed 178 pounds, beat 3 and 4 men in a night. It's a different mindset, The wimps of the people think this sport's a bunch of wimps, a bunch of cowardly wimps. Those are the new fans, and yeah, they're right. The new guys are a bunch of wimps, but there's still some gangsters left in this business. There's still some guys out here that remember when a little 178-pound Brazilian kid walked out there and beat 4 grown men in a night. There's still guys that want to do that aren't afraid to go out there and fight, that don't need the big contracts and the carrots dangled in front of them like these prima donnas today that want to take their shirt off and be a big deal at their local strip club. There's still some actual badasses left, and you're talking to one of them now.
Would you put Rampage in that category?
I would. I'd put Rampage in that same category. I've never seen him back down. That's another guy that's had a hard schedule. There's no way around it. But look, it's a tournament. It's not about animosity. It's not one of those situations. And Rampage and I have always had our problems in the past. But it's a tournament. It's about advancement. And yeah, I think he would qualify. You remember he did the K1 thing, and that was a crazy thing to do. And some bitch even found a way to win it. So beat Chuck Liddell when nobody could beat Chuck. Beat him twice. Yeah, man, Rampage he's special.
You and him have had issues in the past?
Yeah.
What stems, where that stem from?
Who knows? Jealousy. Probably jealousy. That's usually what gets me. I get jealous of these guys. They got their opportunity before I did. I could have whipped them all. I would have been champion long before I finally broke onto the scene, but I couldn't get in.
Is the hatchet all buried now, or is there still some lingering?
I'll bring it back out, but I'd say it's buried.
Considering the Bellator heavyweights, were you surprised Shaq Congo wasn't part of this bracket?
No, I wasn't, but I could be now that you bring it up. I think he's very deserving. Bobby Lashley is one. Shane Carwin was turned down, but then I heard Coker say that he could be an alternate. So, yeah, man, there's some hammers out there, but I don't know. There could have been politics there too. Maybe those guys were offered it and turned it down.
Just curious.
Yeah, I don't know. Do you have scoop on that? I don't know why Czech
don't.
Congo
He's
wasn't.
had the most success as a
Yeah.
heavyweight in Bellator, so I'm just surprised.
Yeah, what, 5 fights or something? 5 for 5, something like that?
To have the most success and not be.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would assume he was at least called, but I don't know.
Joe, before they officially announced this fight, Rampage pretty specifically publicly said you were someone he didn't want to fight in the first round. I'm just curious, did you hear that at your time, or what was your reaction?
Yeah, man, you never know when those veterans say stuff like that. He could be hustling me, you know. Oh, you're real good at those takedown when really he's ready. You never know with Rampage. He says he doesn't want to fight wrestlers. Well, he beat Matt Lindland, who's one of my coaches. Beat Dan Henderson, who's one of the guys I look up to. Those guys are pretty good wrestlers. Knocked out Kevin Randleman. I mean, these guys are pretty good wrestlers. I don't quite know where this Rampage doesn't like wrestlers come from. I know he's working that angle, but I don't know, man. I'm not falling asleep on this guy. I tell you that much. He's just been around too long.
So you recently had a baby girl.
Yes.
How is fatherhood? How's that treatment?
Thank you. It's wonderful. She needs a lot of work. She can't read. She has no job. Doesn't have a driver's license. It's sad. I asked her.
She's falling behind.
Said she didn't even vote for president. But there's some work to be done. So I will groom her, and she's very precious, though. Thank you for asking. Thank you, man. She wakes up every 2 hours, so sleeps. We're on the grind, but yeah, I'm not complaining. It's just what it is. But I'm in my phase right now, being on the grind and trying to prepare for this monster, and my hands are full, man. That's the way it goes.
This event is going to be going head to head with UFC 220, big card. Your friend DC's on that card.
Yeah.
Does that matter to you at all? Going head to head.
Oh yeah, man. I'm competitive. I want to beat those guys. Man, my ego is directly related to those numbers. I check those numbers every time, every interview I do, every podcast I do, every show. Yeah, I check them because it's competition. They're gonna have their show, and we're gonna have our show, and they're gonna fight for their viewers, and we're gonna fight for ours. And that's it. We're live audience and gate and the whole way down, all the way down to who sells the most T-shirts at the end of the night.
You guys are on cable and they're on pay-per-view.
Yep.
So what would be a success in your mind as far as numbers?
Well, but they will have their undercard will be released, and so we'll see those things. And I don't wish against them. I hope they have a great night, but it's still competition, and only one of us is going to have a higher number. One of us is going to have a bigger gate. One of us is going to have more people in attendance. So good for them, but we're playing too.
You mentioned the fighters of today aren't the gangsters of yesterday. Who would you say some of the new gangsters are, and who would some of the...
Yeah, well, there's some tough guys out there. You look at Rory McDonald. He's offering to come into the heavyweight division, which he would get squashed, but that isn't the point. It's the courage. It's the fact that he offered to do it, and he meant it. It wasn't a headline. He meant it. He really would go out and do it. Look on the other side of the tracks. I like everything this Max Holloway is doing. He's fighting anybody at any time. Fighting Jose Aldo's a tough thing to do. The guys never want to give rematches. He gave him an immediate one. Didn't ask for any more money. Didn't ask for anything. That's the guy. We're under contract. He wants to fight. I want to fight. Let's fight. That's how the attitude used to be. Guys used to come and say, I want to do this. Thank you for giving me the opportunity. Now, the shoe's on the other foot somehow, and you got to do so. It's weird, man. It's weird. I want to respect them, but if I was in the leadership position, I'm trying to negotiate with a dude that barely got out of 8th grade. Come on, man. It's not going to happen that way. This is what it is, or I'll just call somebody else. I would have just turned my back on it. It's very frustrating. And I don't want to fight guys like that. I don't want to fight somebody that has to be talked into it. I'm not a bully. I hate bullies. I used to have to deal with them, when I hate those guys. You either want to do it or you don't. That's it.
Who do you think some of the fighters that are skirting to fight?
Well, you just see it all the time. I mean, you see it in the media. I could bring up my phone and we'll have seen something like this today. I mean, there's a poor gal who I have so much respect for. They call her the Iron Lady. She became the world champion, the 45-pounder in the UFC. Do you know what I'm talking about? She walked away. Very hard to punish her for that. She did the heavy lifting, but then she walked away. I just didn't understand it. I don't understand this. Cyborg's the #1 contender. What are we doing here? So then Holly Holm would be the other side of the coin. That's someone that'll step up and do that heavy lifting. I've been really impressed with T.J. Dillashaw. We got a guy, 2 of them, but the Pitbull brothers. Those guys go out and fight. Chandler, I think, would qualify for sure. I think Chandler might be the best fighter we got under contract, even though he lost his title. When's Primus going to get back in there? My own teammate, I should be answering that question, but when's he going to get back in there? We got some real studs right now. And then we just had a card at the Mohegan Sun. All hell broke loose. 3 big upsets all in one night. Gagarg's still in there, but yeah, let's just see what happens, man. It's a good time to be a fight fan.
It wasn't too long ago you had some criticism for the Brazilians. You said some choice words. there's a rumor you might be coaching Colby Covington a little bit. Is there any truth behind that?
No. The only time I've talked to Colby in a meaningful period of time is he came on my podcast, and he was hot. He was fire. I mean, I was so impressed. I was listening to him, one question after the next. After I just ended the call. I thought this guy can't. This guy, nobody can stay on fire this long. You know, he must have a few pocketed or something. He must have a few, and I must have just hit him off. Let's just go. But no, I see some similarities there. But I mean, if you want to make an omelet, you got to crack a few eggs. And Colby's now ranked number 3 in the world. And on top of that, who do you want to see fight more? Who do you want to see get beat more than Colby? You know, it's not the winner of RDA and Robbie Lawler. It's Colby. It's Colby versus Tyron. Colby did his job. Good job.
Has he adopted the Chael Sonnen blueprint?
I don't think so. I mean, I agree there was some similarities there, you know, because of the Brazilian thing. But he was in Brazil. I imagine if he was in Ireland, then it would have been the Irish people. So, I think that's probably the only similarity. But he's doing his own thing. He's you know, he's talking the talk, but he walks the walk. Beating Damian Maia is a tough thing to do, man. Guy, number 1 contender for 2 different world championships at 2 different weight classes. Damian Maia, for me, is he could stop right now. He should be in the Hall of Fame someday, even without that title. I think he's that good. Colby Covington beat him. So you make the argument right now. Put Colby in there right now. It's fine with me. There's a few guys you could say that about. I don't know that he should cut the line, but if you want to, go ahead.
You mentioned that you may bring the hatchet back out against Rampage. The last 2 guys that you fought, Tito and Wanderlei, you had some, you know, they were, with Wanderlei for sure it was a grudge match, but Tito, there were definitely a lot of quips going back and forth. How do you really see the build-up to this fight, you know, ramping up as we get closer?
Well, I mean, we've got different obligations. It is different when you're in a tournament. You know, King Mo and I have always said we want to fight each other, and we really meant that. But we're in a tournament now. Well, that's totally different. That's different than going, hey, I want to fight you, and you want to fight me. In fact, we're going to sign contract. We're going to go out and do it. Well, if you're in a tournament, you just fight whoever advances. There's no animosity about the whole thing. You know, we're the main attraction, but we're not the main event. This falls to the other guys. They chose to put somebody else's name on the marquee. Ticket sales go to them. So... you know, I'll do my part, and I'm training very hard, and I am taking on a former world champion. But that's where it ends.
And has Bellator,
I mean, I'm going to make a story up about him. It's just the way it goes.
have they explicitly said that it's a straight bracket, or there won't be any receiving?
Straight bracket. Yep. So this would be like the quarters. For my side, Frank Mir and Fedor are on that side. So the winner of Rampage and I will take on the winner of that fight. The other 4 guys are on the other half.
What's going on with you and Chuck Liddell?
Nothing. Dead issue. I thought that Chuck was coming back. I had good reason to believe that. He lost his job. Said he wanted to come back. Then he went into the gym. This was my evidence. But I had these 3 pieces of evidence. He's right up the road. He goes to Unbreakable MMA. Jay Glazer's gym. Going in every day. And so I had this evidence. Well, if he's going to come back, then he's coming right into me. Let's just get this thing started. And he played along a little bit. You know, he looked like I foreshadowed it correctly. And sure enough, he's not coming back. It was just some talk, so I let it go. Yeah. Anticlimactic story, but I mean, there it is from start to finish. I don't think we will not see Chuck again. He's done.
Are you disappointed in that?
Yeah, that bummed me out, you know, and I think, regardless of the way I tell the story, I think that Chuck's probably a pretty good guy. You know, he's got to walk around with that haircut. Looks like he lost a bet. That can't be easy to do. You know, you're taking this baseball player second. I mean, it's not easy to beat Chuck. You're broke. You snorted all your money away. I mean, it's not an easy life. And so I don't think he needs me to kick him while he's down either. But if he wanted to come back and we could agree to a match, then maybe things would be different. But I think in this setting, I wish him well.
Chael, what worries you most about this matchup with Rampage? Is it just his power, or is there something else?
Yep, that's the biggest thing. Yep, if you were to say what worries me most. I've never been knocked out in my career. I've never even been knocked down. And in my last fight, I got knocked down by Wanderlei. And it was a very scary feeling because I had no control. Boom, I was just down. Couldn't control it, and fortunately was able to kind of come back. But, yeah, his power worries me. Boom, that uppercut. Boom, that hook. You know, he's a mean guy. Even when he looks like he's not in shape, I've never seen the guy quit. If I could just find some video of him being a quitter somewhere, I'd feel better about it. But he doesn't quit. and he's going to punch hard. And I don't know that he'll prepare as properly as I will, but he competes really well. You know, he's going to show up. If I'm going to beat him, like, I have to stay on top of him for 15 minutes, because sooner or later he's going to land one of those shots.
Last question, guys.
So looking at the card, would you say you drew one of the toughest fights?
It's hard to say. You want to know a fight that I think's a tough fight? And see, I'm a fan first. You know, I like that I get to go out there and fight and do all that hate, but I want to sit back and watch these too. You know, I'm very curious in Frank Mir versus Fedor. I'm very curious in Mitrione versus Roy Nelson. I think that's a hard fight out of the gate, considering that Matt Mitrione should be the #1 contender in the division. But Bader's a world champion right now. We know Bader can win a world championship. He's got one. King Mo can beat him. We know he can beat him because he has beaten him. It's been their amateur days, but he's beaten him at least once. I think twice. If Mo beats him, they're both light heavyweights. If Mo beats him, Mo doesn't get to become the light heavyweight champion. So they're going to have to fight again somewhere down the road. One of them advances. I mean, that's a tough draw. That's a really tough draw. I know people thought that Rampage and I got it, but I think you could make a case for all of them. I'm very curious to see Mo and Bader fight. So, no, I would say Rampage and I aren't the toughest draw. I think that's probably the hardest one. That's the one I'm most curious. And that's where the dark horse is going to come in, because some of us lighter guys have been dismissed out of the gate. But I think, you know, one of those guys, that's a problem. I'd be keeping my eye on it.